Good morning, it's Brian here. It is the Art of Startup War. I am here with another incredible entrepreneur. This is a company I absolutely believe will be a unicorn. Now, you've heard me say this before, but it's always in my mind based on the trajectory of the company, how fast the company's growing. I remember when I spoke with Ben over at NEA once, he said, look, a company is either a rocket ship to the moon or it's a glacier. Just the two things. There's nowhere else to go. So either a company is growing at hyper speed or can grow at hyper speed because that's going to get it the investment and the funding that it needs to get to the next level, or it's going to toddle along for a while. And by the way, the ones that go along for a while still do fine. They can break through, they can raise a little bit of money, they can build their revenue, they can become good companies. But I am talking about exceptional moonshot companies. So I want to welcome Ravi, which is 50% of the phenomenal duo, the Ravi and Gan team, over at Zeeve. Welcome to the show, Ravi. So we're going to talk today. I am lucky enough to have invested in your company. Expert Dojo are a massive supporter of what you're doing. We have so many things to unwrap today. We got to talk about blockchain and how blockchain is becoming so important in the world and why it is becoming so important. We're going to talk about what you're doing within blockchain and why nodes are so tremendously important and how the entire infrastructure of everybody's systems, not just the internet, is going to be rocked to its core. And we're going to talk about what is the path to a unicorn and what does that look like. But before we do any of that stuff, let's talk a little bit about you. So can you share with everybody listening, and most of the folks who are listening are investors who are looking for good investment opportunities, and share with them a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story and the genesis of Zeeve and where did it come from? How did you come up with this?
My name is Ravi, and I've been into IT consulting for 20 plus years, mainly working with startups. Um, 4 years back, I started a blockchain startup called Sofocal, and the idea was to build enterprise solutions. Um, and we did, build quite a few solutions in the supply chain and financial services space. Um, and we also took some large consulting engagements with some of the big enterprises in the manufacturing space, in technology space, media and telecom space. So while working with all these enterprises implementing our blockchain solutions, um, there we realized that the adoption is still very slow, and there are some specific reasons why this adoption is slow. Some of the reasons being that to build a POC or a pilot, still it takes a huge amount of time. It takes huge amount of cost that goes into it, and plus there's a dearth of blockchain expertise in terms of required skill sets or knowledge, somebody who can architect a solution. So there we saw a big opportunity that blockchain is going to revolutionize the enterprise segment, but at the same time there are a lot of challenges, real challenges, that is
Why though?
hampering the adoption.
Ravi, let me stop you there for a sec. Like, why is blockchain? I mean, are we talking like fourth industrial revolution here, or are we talking about a minor blip in how innovation is done? Like, talk to us a little bit about, and in possible, in as much layman's terms as possible, about why blockchain is such an important innovation, or if it even is.
So, so if you see the way the whole digital economy has grown, starting from Web 1.0, where we had very static websites, which was displaying content, and it was one way.
You know,
From there to Web
I wish, I,
2.0,
by the way, I wish I couldn't remember that, but I do.
yeah. So I did my first edtech startup during that time in 1998.
Yeah.
That was my first entry into this domain. And then, from there we went to Web 2.0, where we were talking about, e-commerce. There were a lot of transactions happening online, social media, where the two-way interaction started happening and people started interacting. So exchange of information, exchange of commerce, that is what was the Web 2.0. But what blockchain has brought in, the whole new paradigm, the Web 3.0, decentralized world, where the value can be exchanged online. And why it enables that? It creates a trustless network. And through that trustless network, people who are not known to each other, two people entirely unknown and separated by geographies, can interact with each other with complete security, trust, and transparency. and that's something which is highly revolutionary. It's not a small blip. It's not something which is a bit of transformational. It is something which is disrupting major way most of the industries.
It actually changes the paradigm of how we think, right? If we think about it,
Absolutely.
the entire world is structured around the need for trusted authorities to actually have a position of power. And so when you
Right.
take away that position of power, when you create distributed ledgers whereby actually two random people who don't know each other are from different parts of the world and will never know each other can have absolute trust in a transaction, suddenly, I mean, I don't want to go as crazy as there's no need for governments and there's no need for banks, but it suddenly gets extremely interesting.
No, absolutely. See, I put that in a different way. That the role of intermediaries will not vanish. The role of intermediaries will be changed completely. They will be more qualitative rather than quantitative. So today, the minor transactions being looked upon by intermediaries will completely go away, and the role of intermediaries will be completely redefined. That's the way I. So regulations are still going to be there. There are a lot of other intermediaries which are required. They are still going to be there, but it's going to change the way things work or transactions work in the real world.
Amazing. It's going to be phenomenal. And how do you see that change happening? Is it going to be a slow, gradual change? Or is it going to be like how crypto has hit people over the last 5 or 6 months, where suddenly the entire world, and even this morning, we're reading about Visa adopting crypto, which seems like the last bastion of traditional conservatorship has fallen, right? Is that the way it's going to be with blockchain? Are we going to see an entire overhaul of the system overnight, or will it be a periodic change?
No, I think it's going to change over a period of time, and the reason is very clear that with the new technology, it takes time to build the ecosystem. Technology was quite immature. It has matured quite a bit in the last 3 4 years, and apart from that, you require all the legs or parts of the ecosystem to grow. And once that is there, then I think the speed picks up, and that's what the trend that we are seeing. Crypto being one on the payment side took a bit of time, but now it has picked up very well. And now
Yeah.
we are seeing many protocols where real payments are happening, millions and millions of transactions are happening on daily basis. Similarly, the same trend we are going to see in the enterprise segment. Again, it has started slow because not a lot of necessary pieces need to be there, and that's where Zeeve comes in. We are helping build some of those pieces who are critical part of the ecosystem. Once that ecosystem is there, then you'll see it's going to transform the industries in big way.
So I want us to look at this like huts in a jungle to buildings in a city. How many of the huts are going to disappear for the development of the city? And how long is it going to take? Because what's so exciting about any type of Internet 3.0, and especially for people listening, realizing how important Internet 2.0 was, the entire evolution of e-commerce, to the absolute decimation of retail on the high street. So if we look at that for the 3.0, are all of the huts going to disappear? Or is the entire high street going to disappear in the blockchain era as it moves in the next place? Do companies have to rebuild their entire infrastructure, or do they just have to layer some little pieces on top?
So I think it would be a mix of two. For some of the use cases, some of the industries, it will be completely disruptive. New business models are coming and replacing the old models. And in some cases, the old models will be redesigned or re-architected to leverage the new technologies. So that's the way I see it. It's not that all the industries will be disrupted in the same way, but yes, most of them will be.
And I'm guessing for large enterprises, this is going to mean hundreds of millions of dollars of expense. I mean, for a better future, but immediate expense, because they are going to need to rebuild virtually their whole infrastructure on how they have previously tracked anything.
No, that's true. That's true. And but I think that's how it works. Technology requires investment initially, but I think you get competitive advantage, and you get advantage in the long run.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing for everybody listening here is you always want to be in a period of time in your life when there is transformational change coming. It's the time of opportunity. It's the time when people get not wealthy. Wealthy is what happens when you're going through the other times. Rich is what happens when you're going through a transformational time. Hence why Amazon are what Amazon are. Amazon could never have been this. They wouldn't have been this in 20 years' time. It would have been too late. They wouldn't have been this 20 years ago. It was too early. The world wasn't ready. So heed me. Right now is the time of opportunity for blockchain. Absolutely, clearly, no doubt in my mind. And I decouple always crypto from blockchain because they have nothing to do with each other than the fact that crypto runs on blockchain. But even that should be an indicator for everybody listening here that this is the era of blockchain. And those companies that are building the infrastructure of what that's going to look like going forward are going to be the kings of the castle. So I want to talk about Zeeve now. Now that everybody knows what's happening within the blockchain space, I want to talk about the positioning and where you see this great new kingdom and where you fit in it and why Zeeve is so tremendously important. I know because we already invested, but I want everybody else to realize the magnitude of what you're doing.
Yep. So Zeeve is a low-code platform. It's a SaaS-based blockchain as a service platform, and it enables enterprises to build blockchain applications faster, deploy and manage the blockchain nodes in a completely automated way. And the
And
best
just
part is
explain a
it's
little bit
agnostic
why.
to cloud.
Sorry, just explain a little bit why nodes are important. I think everybody, and by the way, there'll be people listening here who 100% get the blockchain space. They live it, they do it, and they'll be like, shut up, Brian. Of course we know what this is. But I just also want to make sure that for everybody else, they get the significance of it because the nodes aspect is the central key to why you are going to be so important going forward.
Right. So blockchain being a decentralized network or a distributed ledger, there are various nodes where the data is synced up. So different individuals or organizations would be hosting their own nodes. And in a blockchain network, the data is shared across these nodes.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is some of the organizations still share a single node, but many of the organizations, like working in a trade finance space, banks would like to host their own nodes. Um, that's why, and this network of nodes is what how the blockchain works.
And that network is only going to increase, right?
Absolutely. So as the network grows,
Exponentially.
as more and more stakeholders join the network or the consortium, the number of nodes will keep on growing in the network. So a minimum, like let's say, for example, if we talk about a Hyperledger Fabric-based trade finance or supply chain finance, so it starts with 7 to 10 nodes, but then it keeps on growing. It will grow to 20, 30 once you have a sizable number of customers, and within a year, it can go up to 100 or plus nodes.
And that's your baby, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing. So tell us about how you got into this space and tell us about I'd like to understand the journey a little piece because I think for everybody listening here, they're getting the idea. If the entire foundation of how organizations are going to map out their data is going to change, and if the foundation is going to incorporate blockchain on a more and more significant way all the way through, and if nodes are an absolute vital component of being able to connect that entire mesh network, then he or she who owns the nodes gets to be El Presidente. Right?
Right.
So, this is why I love Zeeve. This is why I believe you have set upon one of the most genius endeavors for a technology that is going to be required for the next 20 years and beyond. And you have got in here at the exact perfect time. I think 2 years ago was too early. You could play with it 2 years ago, but not enough organizations had adopted or even understood the significance of it. 2 years in the future would be too late because the winners would have won. Right now is the moment.
No, absolutely. I think we started 4 years back into blockchain, and then realized the potential of something a product like Zeeve about 1.5 years back when we actually started building it. Initially for our own customers, our own connects, and the developer community, and then slowly and slowly, it realized into a bigger dream. So if you see uh, we need to see the challenges that enterprises face when they adopt blockchain. So one is, of course, lack of expertise. Second is there are legacy systems. what pieces need to be reformed, what pieces need to be aligned with the new blockchain ledger. Third is security and compliances, because they have been used to working in a centralized environment. How the compliances are going to be applied in a decentralized environment. So let's say if a bank is becoming part of the consortium, now bank traditionally has been hosting their own on-premise infrastructure, and everything is within the bank, and there's very few pieces which are available to public. But in a decentralized environment now, how to take care of all the privacy, security, and compliance concerns. And then due to lack of expertise, there's a lack of know-how as far as how the DevOps, blockchain DevOps is something very different from traditional DevOps, with how to manage the integrations with the legacy applications, etc. So there are plethora of challenges, and what it leads to? It leads to higher cost. It leads to much larger time to market, and that's where some of these initiatives die down. What Zeeve does is Zeeve has created a complete low code platform where we try to achieve 100% automation, starting from building a blockchain application. So what AWS did to cloud, we have done in using Zeeve to blockchain.
Wow.
So we have built a set of
By the way,
services
that's a
which can be
very
easily plugged in.
by the way, that's a
Yeah,
very, very significant statement to make, because obviously everybody who's looking at AWS knows the size of AWS. This, in your view, is where the cloud is going to go in the future.
absolutely, 100%. We have already moved that road, and some of the Fortune 100 customers that we are working with, they have realized the potential of a platform like Zeeve. A set of ready services, a POC which takes about 8 to 10 weeks can be done in less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
Node deployments which takes about 3 to 4 weeks can be done in 5 minutes to 30 minutes.
Wow.
So we cut down the time, like more than 90%. We cut down the cost tremendously by more than 70-80%.
I'm also,
So
by
it's
the
a
way, guessing the security is going to be highly increased as well. Right now, we've never had a more insecure world. And, the cloud was a lovely idea. But it caused terrible chaos. Now we have, not just for institutions, for governments, for voting, for everything. The cybersecurity bad guys have got the cybersecurity good guys on the run, and they have done for the last 15 or 20 years. And the whole idea of decentralized ledgers where everything is trackable, everything is traceable, everything is being followed, everything is being monitored, but it doesn't all have to go to one vulnerable source which can be attacked, is one of the most brilliant and genius things in the world. And I think it's because I'm a dad, Ravi, and I think of everything with kids, but it's a little bit like, and let's take a good Catholic Irish family, which has at least 12 children, right? Because you have to keep on having children your whole life. It's a little bit like in the olden days where if the kids were like 14, 15, 16, 17, and every decision that needed to be made for every single one of them, and they're all living in different parts of Ireland, they all had to call the mom or the dad to make the decisions, which meant
right,
that there's not just an area of stress, there's not just an area of inefficiency, but there's also an area of vulnerability. Because if something
right.
happens to mom or dad, the entire system breaks. So what you're doing is each one of those kids really becomes their own node. Every single decision that gets made is traceable, it's trackable, but it's also distributed, so it's so much more difficult to hack it because you can't hack one decision-making tree. You can't hack the tree at the bottom. You have all of these branches as the decision makers.
Yeah. So one, you're absolutely right. One, the decentralized nature of blockchain, there's no single point of failure. So that itself lends to a larger security. Apart from that, the immutable nature of data which is stored on the ledger again gives a lot of trust and transparency to all the participants. But in addition to that, so traditional security layers like server hardening and the application security, what we in Zeeve are doing is, we are taking some very big initiatives related to trusted execution environment to safeguard the encryption keys, to safeguard the wallets, safeguard all kind of access to the blockchain nodes. So some of the initiatives which I can't talk right now because of confidentiality, but they are going to change the way security is looked at
Incredible.
uh, in the blockchain domain.
Incredible. And it's incredible because I really want people to understand the significance of what's happening here. This is a transformational change. And that means for investors who are watching this to be involved in the infrastructure, to have a part of what's being built. I mean, whether this is the Intel of the future, whether this is the Norton of the future, whether this is like, look at all of these huge companies, these Ciscos, all of these great companies that were built, IBMs, 15, 20 years ago to deal with the infrastructure of the last 15 or 20 years. Those same organizations are going to grow in the blockchain world. And do not assume that they are going to be the behemoths of the past, because it's too hard for them to be able to change what they have and what they've built. The only way they even have a chance is by buying the innovators when the innovators get big enough. But they are going to be behemoths of the future made today. Our bet in Expert Dojo is that Zeeve is going to be one of those monster winners in this space. So before we get to, I want to talk about the team, and I want to talk about how you built it and how you've got to it. And I also want to talk about the unbelievable traction that you have so far. It's ridiculous. We have weekly calls right now, and normally when I have weekly calls, people are calling me to say, hey, Brian, I really need your help. We really need some investment. We really need to get some clients, some companies. Can you help? With you, I literally can't keep up with the information you're giving me. I have to make notes of all of the new clients you're getting on every single week. And you're not even hitting we're hitting so many new clients, I don't even know we can handle it. We're hitting so many new clients, but I'm like an addict and I'm bringing in more and more and more and more. So I want to get there a little bit later on, but I want to start off with maybe some of the challenges that you've had on the journey so far, some of the hard knocks that you've received throughout your journey as an entrepreneur that have built up the resilience to where you are today. Because you take this with so much calm, and I've never seen you stressed. And I've never seen you in a state of panic, and I'm sure you are. But I also believe that a lot of the great qualities that you have, that you demonstrated to me when I invested, and which I continue to see through you, are built over time. So talk a little bit about that journey if you can.
No, I think the journey, the whole journey has been very interesting. When we conceptualized and started working with Zeeve, the initial idea was to, apply to the initial customers and the developers. But as the blockchain was moving very slowly, and especially last year when COVID happened, so last 2 years had been very slow. So the number of customers that we wanted to onboard, or number of users that we wanted to onboard on the platform was moving very slowly. So and until unless you have customers, it does not motivate you to keep on building further. But the best thing is, I've got a very seasoned and highly talented team, young people, and they go out of the way and build something incredible. And what we see after the end of year is a amazing product that they have built. The whole co-founding team, Ghan, Sankalp, they have been into blockchain for quite some time, and they have worked with more than 10 plus protocols. And they understand both the enterprise side, they understand the technology side, they understand, what are the real challenges of users that need to be sorted out. The kind of intuitive interfaces that we have built and the kind of automation that we have built is actually is something that customers appreciate us. So it has been very challenging last couple of years, but I think in the last 4 or 5 months, things have been very crazy. We have been almost, adding 100 to 200,000 in revenue every month, and lots and lots newer customers are trying
By
the
the way,
platform.
I know you say that in a normal sentence, but it's not. It's not normal. Like when as a company to be adding an additional $100,000 a month in revenue is incredible, especially when you're just at the beginning of your journey, when you're starting to work with it. The other thing that's incredible is the clients and the companies that you're bringing on board. I think you've touched upon it and then you left it very quickly, so I want to go back there. I believe quality of product. There are different types of companies and entrepreneurs I work with, right? Some entrepreneurs are phenomenal at building companies. Other entrepreneurs are phenomenal fundraisers. Other entrepreneurs are phenomenal at getting a message out there until a great product is actually built. And then there will get some entrepreneurs, like some real gems, where, and this is almost more of an Israeli trait than it is anywhere else in the world, but it's where there is such a focus on building beautiful. like building a product which has got such incredible attention to detail that it almost has storytelling built into it. So your team members, your co-founders, Gan, who I now know very well, and your other co-founder as well, and also your team, maybe just go a little bit deeper into their motivation and into their skill set because it runs deep. You are building new customers not because you've turned into super salespeople overnight, but because the timing is right and because you've built something absolutely beautiful. How did you do that? And maybe speak to them a little bit on that as well. And how did you build this team around you?
Yep. So I think the best part about the team is, it's um, they're highly technology intensive oriented or technology oriented, but at the same time, they are very customer focused. So when we get a problem or a challenge from a customer, we don't try to identify or find solutions which are already available, but we try to find a solution which is much better than what is available right now. And that is where some of the services that we have built in Zeeve and which is helping some of the customers, it's amazing. Like, the automation of CI/CD pipelines with one of the enterprise customers. That is something that we even we never thought of it, but it came as a challenge from the customer. We took it up, and then we created a very unified dashboard, which not just covers our original dashboard of Zeeve, but it covers a number of other services on the cloud infrastructure. So the best part is that team takes the challenges, they go out of the way, think out of the box, and have been delivering on with supreme quality, and our customers are very happy. The best part is that end of the day they are so satisfied and so appreciative of the product that we have built for them.
And what have those customers been saying to you without mentioning their names? Like, what have they been saying to you about the challenges that they're facing going forward?
uh,
Are
so
they
in
are they
terms of
panic? Are they panic stricken about what's coming with blockchain? Are they embracing it? Because it involves cost, right? Where they're going to go, they're just beginning their journey with you, and then they're also going to have multiple journeys with other people who are going to be dealing with other levels of the stack. So, are they speaking with confidence of this great, incredible thing that's coming to their world, or are they absolutely terrified? Because I'm guessing it's a combination of both.
Right. So they are excited, they are motivated, encouraged by lots which is happening in the market. They see a competitor, apply a use case or gets into production. So everybody is, charged up to do something in blockchain. But at the same time, they want to be realistic in terms of what needs to be done, how the technology needs to be incorporated within their organization, and how different pieces need to be put together to enable this. And that is where Zeeve comes in as an enabler, which help them first to identify what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and how they can actually realize the overall value by just putting in minimal of efforts. So that is where automation comes in, that rather than picking pieces one by one and then putting them together and build something and then see where we have succeeded, where we have failed. Rather than doing that, you have a seasoned platform built by highly talented team, and we know we have been working with enterprises for more than 5 years now, uh, building blockchain solutions and doing blockchain consulting, and all that experience have actually been pumped into Zeeve as a final product.
And I want to talk about where Zeeve is going to go as a product in the future. But let's move to the traction. Let's move to what you've built. And let's talk about the investment that you've received so far. Let's talk about what investment that you're going to be taking in after this, that we're going to be working very closely with you on follow-on rounds as well. We've invested, we want to invest again in the future, but we also want to bring in partner investors as well so they can benefit from what we believe is going to be a monster breakthrough company. But then we're going to talk about traction almost in tandem. And then afterwards, we'll go about like where the product goes after this. So let's talk about just the traction that we're expecting and the investment that we're expecting in the future. What does it look like?
So I think the traction so far has been pretty good. Um, so we have almost 3,000 developers using the platform. We have about 20 plus paying customers, and we have some very large partners who have joined our ecosystem. So we are growing through partners. We are growing directly by outreaching to enterprises. So I think the traction has been pretty good so far. But at the
I
same
would
time,
say,
yes,
I
it's never too high.
listen. I would
we
say
all,
I would say it's better than pretty good. I remember 4 or 5 weeks ago you called me and you said, Brian, we're going to hit $250,000 a month by the end of this year. Easy peasy. And then the next week you said, Brian, it's going to be 300. And then you said the following week, Brian, we're probably going to be 350. And then we spoke yesterday and you said, or I spoke with Gan yesterday and he said to me, Brian, I think we're going to hit $500,000 a month by the end of this year because we've got this great new client that we're bringing in as well. And it's only March. I think we're just in April. It's only the beginning of April. It almost feels like an April Fool joke that we have such unbelievable traction. Like I see your company going to $500,000 a month by the end of this year. I see you hitting next year and getting to over $1 million a month. And within the next 2 or 3 years, I see you hitting $10 million a month in revenue. Like that's how huge. I see this not as good. I see this as huge. Am I wrong?
No, no, absolutely. So we started with a very aggressive target, which we thought was very aggressive till 5 months back. So we started with a target of achieving 1.2 to 1.5 million this year in 2021.
Yeah, in annual recurring
already,
revenue. Yep.
And within the first 3 months, we have already surpassed about 60% of it. And we are hoping that we need to revise the target to at least make it double or more than that for this year, and that's what we are striving. So yeah, but we continue to this is the right time when we have the product in production. We have very good customers who are using the platform. We have already crossed more than 1,000 nodes on the platform. So I think this is the right time when we need to gain more and more market share, more and more customers. One that will help us build a sizable revenue, more than what we strive for, and at the same time that will continue to help us build the product, make it much more better. More customers using the platform, more feedbacks we get, more challenges we see, and there's more to build on the platform.
Wonderful. And then that's going to bring an opportunity. So investors that are listening to this is how I thought. We have a company which is right now at a stage where it is proven by customers. We have a company that has got large enterprises that are absolutely happy, not just happy, but expanding aggressively with the company. We have a marketplace, i.e. blockchain, which has only begun, but we know it is going to be the basis of how of Internet 3.3, as 3.0, as Ravi quite eloquently said it. We know that the company are well capitalized. We know they have no challenges raising money, even though we're going to raise them a little bit of money now. They could do it in their sleep, even over in India. We know they have a phenomenal and talented team with a low cost base that are only going to keep building better and better and better. And we know that there's a road to get to $500,000 a month this year. And even if we're conservative, when we say $200,000 to $300,000 a year, it's still incredible for the first real revenue generating year that they've actually come out with. And we also know there's a market size of $10 million a month plus. So that's what ticks all my boxes. Now, how much are you going to raise, Ravi? Are you going to go for just a couple of million over the next few months to drive that growth?
Yep. So we are planning to raise around 2.5 million.
Okay. Very reasonable amount.
We already have a very ambitious plan what to do with that money. A part of it will go into product development. We have some very innovative products, pieces to the product that's going to come up. One I mentioned about the security, that's going to be revolutionary. And at the same time, we want to build much better interfaces. And then, form some partnerships with some upcoming protocols, future protocols like Dragon Chain. So these are some of the on the product side. And then, of course, we want to expand geographically. We want to gain more customers, more partners, so that we can, increase our revenue and convert our sales. So part of the funds will go into that.
Fantastic. So very gentle raise for incredibly ambitious targets. Find me a company in the US that are looking for such a small amount of money for such a large traction impact. And then the last thing I just want to hit upon is when you talk about the product, I would like you to share a little bit about not just the product today, but where the product's going to go in the future. I want you to help investors understand what that future vision looks like. and where Zeeve is going to go, because you may be starting with nodes and connecting a mesh network, but you're going way beyond that in the future. This is just the gateway to a much bigger vision. So share with us what you can and leave out what you're not comfortable sharing. And then also please give everybody your email and your URL so folks are able to contact you afterwards.
Sure. So I think, yep, the kind of vision that we have, we emphasize, leading the infrastructure management for blockchain in future. And the way I see it, it will be a mix of a platform which enables building blockchain applications on different protocols, completely cloud agnostic or completely underlying infrastructure agnostic. You can host it on premise on any kind of cloud. So it would be something like an app store, where you have different kind of apps. You can simply pick it up, apply it, modify it, customize it, and use it for your own purpose. So something of that sort. Basically a very large marketplace where you don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure. So blockchain will form the infrastructure of the digital world, and we will enable the infrastructure of blockchain, which will enable the infrastructure of the digital world. So that's the way I see it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So in other words, you will be everything. And how can people contact you?
So our website is zeeve.io, spelled as ZEEVE.io. And you can contact us on Telegram, on Twitter. My email ID is Ravi, RAVI, @zeeve.io.
Beautiful. Ravi, you're a superstar. I could not be more pleased that Expert Dojo invested in you. I am so looking forward to going with you on this journey, wherever it takes us. And I truly believe you are going to build one of the biggest and influential companies, not just in blockchain, but within the entire infrastructural community. So congratulations on it all.
Thanks
Thanks
Brian.
for having me
I
on the
think,
ride.
It has been excellent and very exciting journey with you. And I think with Expert Dojo, we definitely will make big inroads into the US market. Thank you.
Beautiful. That is a wrap, my friend, to great things.